الحمد لله رب العالمين يا رب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ولي الصالحين، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده وحبيبه ورسوله. سيدي أبا القاسم يا رسول الله، صل عليك الله يعلم الهدى، وأشهد أنك بلغت الرسالة وأديت الأمانة ونصحت الأمة وكشفت الغمة وجاهدت لله حق جهاده. عباد الله، يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في محكم تنزيله: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا والنساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. My dear brothers and respected sisters, I greet you all with the greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. All praise is due to Allah. We bear witness and we testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we bear witness and we testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is his messenger and his slave. All salawats and salams be upon our Prophet, upon his noble family, his righteous companions, and all those who follow his path till the last day. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, in the last week we have the two main topics in Muslim community. Number one is the footy grand final that we've got tomorrow. We have a lot of members of this mosque that are passionate about footy, and they support Collingwood. They say, Mom, can you make dua? Can you make a prayer for Collingwood to win? You know, we don't make such prayers, but what we say is, may the best team win. Even though Collingwood is from Melbourne here, with all due respect to those teams from Brisbane or wherever they are, we still support one of our own here, okay? Now, the second topic that we did discuss even last week a little bit is about the birthday of our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. It is sad to see a lot of Muslims debating again, what should we do, whether we should celebrate, not celebrate, knowing that this man, when he was born, when he became a prophet, he changed the course of history since that time until the last day on earth. We're talking about a religion, and it's not just a religion. Islam is more than a religion. With all due respect to other faiths and other religions, they consider their faith that as long as you go once a week in a church, if you go once a week in a synagogue, if you go once a week in the temple, that is the faith, that is the religion. Islam is about a way of life. How we live our life on our daily basis, everything has to be according to our faith, according to our deen, according to our religion, Islam. So it's not just a religion. It's not just whatever people call with those names. Islam is above all these things. And who changed this history is the man who left a legacy behind. He didn't leave any money like all the kings and sultans and rich people leave. He didn't leave any other things the only thing that he left behind is his legacy, is his faith, the Holy Quran, and his name. That today, we are 2.3 billion Muslims around the world, that for every second, someone mentions his name and sends salutations upon him and his family. This is our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. So instead of us discussing whether we should celebrate, not celebrate, what to do, think about his legacy that he left behind. And it's not just him, my dear brothers and sisters. If you read the history of Islam, you will understand that in main sciences, in main things that we use today, the first people that discover those things were Muslims. Muslims, but we don't know much about those people. And because of the West, sometimes they try to change even their names. They don't want their names to actually look or sound Arabic or Islamic. Like Ibn Sina. Ibn Sina is one of the greatest philosophers and one of the greatest people in medicine. They said, no, Ibn Sina, it doesn't sound very good. Let's change his name to a Latin name, Avicenna. So Avicenna, if you don't know about the background, you wouldn't know that he's a Muslim. You wouldn't know that he's a scholar in Islam. So today, we'll discuss some of the things that Muslims discovered that changed the course of how we live until the end of days. And let's start with something that we love the most, and that is coffee. You know, coffee is the second most known things that people use in the world after petrol is coffee. And where was coffee discovered? In Yemen. You know that coffee, famous coffee that most of you drink, mocha? That is an Arabic name, Muha. Muha is actually a place that is in Yemen. So in 15th century, coffee was discovered in Yemen. In the 16th century, coffee was known in Persia, in Ottoman Empire, in most of the Muslim lands. And Turkish coffee, oh my God. And by the way, when I went to Turkey, no one drinks Turkish coffee. They all drink chai, tea. So that is not a Turkish coffee, okay? Just for your information, that is Albanian coffee, okay? So from now on, please change it. It's not Turkish anymore. They don't drink Turkish coffee. They drink tea. So we Albanians drink coffee instead of Turks, even though we call it Turkish coffee. And by the way, we do have some committee members here that hopefully they can make us some Turkish coffee after Jummah. Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so just so you know, every time you drink coffee from now on, know that Muslims are the ones that discovered coffee for the first time. Number two, when it comes to printing paper, you know, all the books that we have printed were actually discovered, the printing paper, this paper, was discovered by Muslims. And we are talking about more than 1,000 years ago. The first people that were able to make this printing paper were Chinese. But they never told anyone how to make this printing paper. There was a battle between Muslims and non-Muslims, and Muslims actually got one of the slaves, you know, prisoners of war, and Muslims, being generous all the time, they said, if you teach us something, we will let you go. You remember? And he said, I will teach you something that no one knows except people that know how to make that. And that is printing paper. He taught the Muslims, and the Muslims were the ones to teach the Europeans how to use printing paper. And then Europeans took advantage of our knowledge because we were fighting among each other whether to print Muslim books or not. People going to misuse and abuse them. They took advantage of that, and now are the West that make the best printing paper in the world. When it comes to even surgery, you know, surgery was also discovered by Abu al-Qasim al-Zahrawi, a Muslim scholar, and we are talking about around the year 1000. 1000, he wrote a book, encyclopedia, 1,500 pages about how to do surgery. How to do surgery. His book was used as a reference in Europe back then for at least 500 years. No other book in medicine, no other book in surgery except this book that this Muslim wrote. And all the Europeans, you know, back then was Dark Ages, you know, the fight between church and between other people, and they used to fight people that used to think different, you know, opposite the church. And, you know, they used to burn some of them alive because they said that the earth spins, and they said, how can you say that? This is against the church, against the Bible and all that stuff. So you know that Muslims were the first to discover surgery. Even when it comes to flight. Now, every time when you fly from now on, when you go to Brisbane to watch a footy game or whatever, thank the Muslims that actually discovered for the first time how to fly. It's not Leonardo da Vinci and all those people that came later on. Muslims, they try to ignore and never mention their names, but there were Muslims, and some of the names was Abbas ibn Firnas. In the year 810, he discovered some sort of a plane that actually was flying for 3 minutes. And he wrote all those instructions down, and then later on other people used his knowledge and put their name in the history. But Muslims were the first to discover also things when it comes to flying. And we're talking about university now. You know, knowledge. People are proud of Harvard, Oxford University. These universities came hundreds of years after. The first university that was established was in Morocco, in a town called Fez. And if you go there, that university is even today, and it's called Al-Qarawwayn. And also there was even the name of the person who actually was the first graduate of that university. What they were doing? They were just implementing the tradition of the Prophet and the command of the Quran, because the first word was revealed to Prophet Muhammad is what? Is read, study. That a lot of Muslims nowadays we lack. But the first command by God to Prophet Muhammad was what? Is to read in the name of God that created you. And Muslims left this legacy behind, my dear brothers and sisters. Even when it comes to optics, if you read the history, there were Muslims, Abu Ali al-Hasan ibn al-Haytham. He was the first one to discover, and he's got a book called Kitab al-Manazir, that he explained everything when it comes to optics. And there are other things that, most important ones, my dear brothers and sisters, is cleanliness. You know, a lot of countries in the West, when we have to accept and admit this, when it comes to cleanliness, the West have taken the first place, even though that came from Islam, that came from the Quran, and from the tradition of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. You cannot find in any scripture, in any faith, in any tradition that says cleanliness is half of your religion. Half of our religion, Islam, is cleanliness. And who put that foundation? Is our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. So this is how we commemorate the tradition of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. By knowing that what he has done, Muslims that were proud back then. They were a superpower. No one dared to mess with them. Why? Because they were sticking hard to the Holy Quran and the tradition of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. When it comes to other things, my dear brothers and sisters, there are so many. Medicine, I mentioned Ibn Sina, Avicenna. There are universities in Europe that are actually named after this scientist. There was a philosopher, and he was a doctor, and he was a Muslim, and died as a Muslim, but only because they changed his name from a Muslim name to a Latin name, Avicenna. A lot of our kids don't know that he was a Muslim that left a legacy behind, that all Muslims should be proud of these names, my dear brothers and sisters. Astronomy. You know, astronomy, if you check 12 stars, if you know the science of astronomy, 12 stars are named with Muslim names because Muslims were the ones to discover those stars. Muslims were the ones to discover those stars. And even James Cook and all these movies that Hollywood makes, you know how they discovered America. You will find, and if you read even deeper, a Muslim person was the one to discover America. But his name was never mentioned. Why? Because we Muslims don't know about them, and let alone other people. We should let other people know that, hey, we Muslims left this legacy behind. These are the people that discovered all these things that changed the course of history of mankind. Muslims did this, my dear brothers and sisters. And also, all these things are around one saying of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, that said, the best of people are those that bring most benefit to the rest of mankind. The best people are those people who bring most benefit to the rest of mankind. This is Islam. That when we think about other people. And talking about legacy, you know, we always say this to ourselves and even to our children. I say to myself, after I'm gone, what kind of legacy am I leaving behind? What kind of legacy you're leaving behind? There are people that actually Allah bring them in this world. They live 70, 80 years and they go, they leave no mark. They're born and they die. No one even noticed that they were alive in the first place. But why? Because they've done nothing to leave a mark in a history. And I always acknowledge people that built, just take this mosque, for instance. Some people are still alive here, and some of them are, have passed on. This is the legacy that they left behind. We are standing in this very mosque, praising our Lord and sending salawat upon our Prophet from this very mosque that was built by people, by immigrants that came all the way from Albanian lands. You know, they had to spare some money. They needed money just like we all do. But they knew that having a mosque is a place where Muslims meet, where Muslims learn. The first thing that Prophet built when he migrated from Mecca to Medina was what? Was his mosque. And it wasn't just a mosque that we think of a mosque today. That was a university. That was a place that he used to meet delegations from all around the world. There was a place where people learn knowledge. There was a place that for everything, university, mosque, government, everything was the mosque of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And Muslims all around the world, when they went, to Australia, for instance, if you know that the first mosque built in the 19th century by the Afghan Cameliers in Adelaide, they knew that, hey, mosque is an important part of our life. even though that mosque didn't exist later on, was demolished, but we knew that they built the mosque. But one thing I can say to you proudly is that Albanians are the first in the history of Islam in Australia to build a mosque that actually continues to exist even today. People built mosques even before, but they used for 50 years, the mosque was closed because there was no Muslims left. So we continue to exist, and inshallah will continue to exist. This is important to mention because it's school holidays, and its most important part is for our children to remember where they come from. You know how hard was for Muslims from the time of the Prophet until today, how much they have sacrificed when it comes to even life, when it comes to even wealth, when it comes to family members, everything. So Islam can come to us untouched, unchanged. So we're able to enjoy Islam. You're able to learn Islam. Wherever you go, you see mosques, you see Muslims. Wherever you go, around the world, you say to a Muslim, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. He will reply by saying, Wa alaykum assalam. It's the same. It's universal greeting. This is Islam that unites us. If you go in Germany, in New Zealand, if you go Middle East, if you go Germany, Alaska, you say, read Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul huwallahu ahad, every one of them will read the same verse. There's no changes, there's no versions. We have one version, that version that was revealed from Allah through Angel Jibril to our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Islam that we shouldn't take for granted. This is how we should be proud of who we are. And also tell our children, because all children are the ones that have this, identity crisis. They're embarrassed to say that they're a Muslim. They're embarrassed to say that they're this, from this background, that background. No. Even though we are born here, I am a Muslim. And I'm proud of that. You understand? This is how we should teach our children as well. I'm proud of that. But Islam is perfect because it was revealed perfect from God to Prophet Muhammad. We Muslims, including me, myself, as an imam, we are not perfect. We make mistakes every single day, but do not blame Islam because I make a mistake. Blame me. Don't blame my religion. Islam is that good that even though I stand here in front of you, maybe a lot of you are better than me. Maybe a lot of you are better than me. And that only God knows. And you standing here in front of me, you see people from different background. And I know some of you come from different, speak different languages, different age, different status, different wealth, different color, different this. Inside the mosque, we're all the same. And the last thing I want to say before I conclude, because I have some guests here today for the first time. I just wanted to say this mosque and every mosque, I'm talking about Albanian mosques in particular, that we have 4 in Victoria here. Whoever wants to come to the mosque, listen to the sermon, come and visit this mosque or any mosque, the doors are always open. They don't have to be Muslim to come and visit us. Everyone is welcome. Everyone who wants to listen is welcome. Because we've got nothing to hide. We are proud of our faith. We are proud of our congregation. We are proud of the mosque. So whoever wants to learn about Islam, you have a friend, you have someone who wants to see the mosque for the first time, listen to a sermon for the first time, don't feel embarrassed. You don't have to tell me, you don't have to tell anyone. Welcome them. Because every mosque, their doors are always open for everyone who wants to come and visit us or ask questions or whatever the reason, everyone is welcome here. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that we continue the legacy of the Prophet until we die, Ya Rabbal Alameen. To make us of those that we love, we respect, we advise each other only for His sake, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, make us of those that will be able to leave a good legacy behind after we die, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Make us of those that our last words in this dunya to be La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah Ya Rabbal Alameen. Make us of those that we are able to feed ourselves and our families with halal and to stay away from haram Ya Rabbal Alameen. To make us of those that will be able to drink from the hawd of the Prophet on the Day of Judgment Ya Rabbal Alameen. And make us of those who will be the neighbors of the Prophet in Jannah Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ameen, ameen. وقولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه سيستغفر الله إنه هو الغفور